your thoughts about the Pope's recent declaration that sexual pleasure is a gift from God? Thanks, big man. But that pornography must be avoided. Well, that's contradictory. No, I'm kidding.
He's stating, actually, Catholic doctrine. We're not supposed to hate our sexual pleasure. We're not supposed to. I mean, this is not the case with Protestants, of course, but Catholics were allowed.
Right.
I remember when I first realized I had this between my legs, it was the best day of my entire life. And I never really could understand it as a sin. Masturbation and that pleasure was just something that seemed so obviously, self-evidently natural and great. Why would God be punishing me for it? And I actually, I was very devout. I just decided, well, that's obviously not true. The way I decided that, well, the Virgin Mary wasn't physically ascended into heaven. There were certain things you said, okay, no, that's not right.
I remember when I was first masturbating, and I did not know what it was. We didn't have...
I didn't either.
And I remember thinking, is this bad for me? But then it was like...
Nah.
Really, it was like... I didn't know, really. I thought it was urine. I did it in the dark. And the only thing I'd ever seen come out of there was urine.
I know.
And it seemed like, this doesn't seem right, but...
The fact that you remember that moment, I remember that moment too, just shows you how natural it is.
And how naive we were compared to kids today, because I'm sure they know everything before they're 7 years old.
They do, and there was no porn either. Like, I used to, honestly, I had a scrapbook. I would draw the dudes I wanted to have sex with. That's all I could do, draw them. But that meant that my imagination was kind of set off. And when I first discovered sex, it was like, oh, this is interesting, that is interesting. Now you meet like someone who's 21, they're like, well, I'd like you to be daddy with a bad report card. You need to be there with a spanker and show up at this point and wear this. And I'm like, where did you get this from?
Okay.
It's probably TMI.
Gotta remember, we're on CNN, not Club Random. For panel, who do you think Trump has on his short list for VP? Well, Stefanik is the one that was talked about now. Isn't that the one that they were talking? She's the New York State, used to be a normal, and then became Trump crazy.
And the tormentor of Claudine Gay.
Yes,
that's what made her famous. That's what makes it.
But I think still Haley. I mean, Trump has teamed up. I think he's teamed up with people who've said way worse things. J.D. Vance wrote a whole book and launched his career attacking Trump.
He doesn't care about that.
He doesn't care about any of that. And Haley, although there are parts of MAGA, as we discussed, that might not love her, if Trump says this is it, and he's very practical, and she would help in the suburbs, which is his biggest general election vulnerability, I think there's a lot of the actual numbers people around Trump who are trying to get him to think about that, and it would probably give him several points.
I saw in the paper this week that he is doing better and did better with college education.
Yep.
I remember when he won Iowa, or was running in Iowa in 2016, and he had that famous line, "I love the poorly educated."
Yes.
I mean, we can't write this material.
You said, Bill, you said tonight that it looks like he could get reelected. He definitely could, but he got 3 million fewer votes in 16. He got 7 million fewer votes in 20. And they had bad midterms, and the Democrats have won every state-based special election in the last year. If he's going to win, which he could, he can't run as the 20 or 16 version of him, and the ticket is the first largest way to say to the suburbs, I'm a little different.
The trouble with Nikki is that she makes sort of Dick Cheney look like the Dalai Lama. I mean, there is not a country she wouldn't invade, not a region she wouldn't bomb. She is the most unreconstructed neocon I've ever come across in politics. And Trump's entire message is, I'm not an unreconstructed neocon. I think the base of bonkers.
You're parsing, you're giving the voters way too much credit. Like, they are looking at neocon versus not. They don't. This is not what they're thinking about.
No, this is why I get back to the issues with Trump. I think one of the issues that helped him was that people were sick of these wars. And when they have someone that seems like want to get into more wars, they were not going to like it. It's a big issue.
I don't think voters expect the running mate to set foreign policy. Period.
I don't think they think about foreign policy a hell of a lot, except if the one that they care about now is Ukraine, because it's holding up immigration reform. They care about this country what's going on in this country, just the way most people watch local news. They don't watch national news.
That means they don't want the wars, which Nikki represents. That's their position on foreign policy. Okay. We don't want to have one, really.
But the median Trump voter doesn't think that he's going to take the cues from her on that.
Or that's really the issue they're voting on. Nikki Haley, what is she going to do about Pakistan? I just don't think this is I don't know what to do.
In regards to the Trump vice presidential pick, Elise Stefanik, I think you can do better. At this point in time, I really don't know myself. I'm going to have to do a little bit of more research and basically see who's out there. But then this whole thing with Nikki Haley, that would be an absolute mistake. You don't need her. And these people don't understand. Ari, okay, the so-called journalistic hack at the Alphabet Networks. Bill Maher, same stupidity. The gentleman here from the magazine surprised me. He seems to get it. He seems to understand the voters. He doesn't think that they're stupid. The voters are a bunch of slaves. They're a bunch of, hicks and hayseeds, living in the middle of the country, don't know how to read, don't talk right, have an accent. He basically said they don't want a neocon anywhere near the freaking Oval Office, whether it's a VP or anybody else. And for Trump, because all you're doing then is setting up the next person. After 4 years, you got to remember, after 4 years, Trump is gone. And the next person in line is going to have a huge bump in terms of being the VP to start his or her own campaign. Probably 2 years into the Trump presidency is when you're going to see a divergence of, if not even sooner, because they're going to have to say, this is our time now to set the next agenda for the next 4 to 8 years. So you don't want Nikki Haley anywhere near that. At least I don't. And these guys still don't understand the Trump voter and still don't give them enough credit in terms of voting on issues. They just think that people are just stupid morons out there. I don't understand anything about foreign wars. I mean, that's all they think of people, exactly like that. Unbelievable. Anyways, folks, let's get back to the interview. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, where I give you my political prescription from my political perspective of what happens when people like Ari Melba Toast gets on with Bill Maher, and they collide, and they talk retardedness, stupidness, idiocy, moronicity about the American public. Let's get back to the interview right now.
Time for one more? Oh, I see they're going after Alec Baldwin again for the shooting at... Is this not the most ridiculous thing? I mean, does anyone think Alec Baldwin purposely shot that person? If not, what is this about? If it was an accident, it was a horrible accident. Accidents happen. Maybe this is some sort of manslaughter thing, but certainly he didn't go, give me a loaded gun. I want to shoot the cinematographer. I feel this is ridiculous.
And you want a legal view?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very overcharged, and it's hard to imagine charging a normal, random citizen, a non-famous citizen, twice on this theory of the case. Now, legally, the prosecutors say, well, look, as an involuntary manslaughter, we don't have to prove deliberate intent. We're saying it was so reckless and a life was lost, and that's tragic. And it is a terrible tragedy. And obviously, a lot has to change on however that set was ever run. But I don't think, based on how it looks and what we know, again, always if more evidence came out, that a citizen, a non-famous person, would be double charged like this. It seems very extreme.
Okay, that's it. Run out of time. Thank you, CNN. Thank you, audience.
Well, folks, as far as Alec Baldwin's concerned, karma is certainly a bitch, isn't it? I mean, karma is a big old fat bitch coming back to get you, right? Maybe he's finally going to understand what it must feel like to be hounded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, week after week, month after month, for just one thing that he committed. An act of manslaughter. Just one thing. I wonder if he understands now what it must feel like to be Donald Trump, who didn't do a damn thing wrong, but is and was and continues to be hounded on multiple fronts. So you think that I really begrudge anything that's happening to Alec bullshit Baldwin? No freaking way. No freaking way. The only tragedy in this is not the tragedy that Bill Maher is basically saying about going after Alec Baldwin. No, you idiot. The tragedy is that somebody, an innocent person, lost their life because of the stupidity, idiocy, moronicity, and the retardedness of Alec Baldwin and whoever was on that set in charge of that gun. And what the hell was a real gun being used for in the first freaking place? I thought these were all supposed to be in this day and age. You really can't make a freaking prop that looks absolutely real without it being real, especially when you're talking about a goddamn gun? Bill Maher, you have some nerve talking about that this is a tragedy of unbelievable proportion for Alec Baldwin. Where's your humanity about talking about the person who died, the cinematographer who actually died? And what about his family? You think there's not some tragic response happening there? That person's gone. Just, you've got your things completely reversed, man. You've got your ideas, your thoughts, your stories are completely reversed. Unbelievable. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. A few minutes already. We'd love for you to subscribe to our channel. You all know what to do. Check out our video links above and below. Put your comments down below. Share with us. We'd love to have you share. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.